Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to a new edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. To my far right, I got my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And today's special guest in the middle. Oh, man, we got a legend in the house. This guy led the ACC in points in 81 through 82. This guy was a legend at Clemson University. He also was All-American, All-ACC, and now he's in the Hall of Fame at Clemson. Went on to the NBA draft, got picked up by the Indiana Pacers, and then left there and played the CBA a little bit with Flip Saunders, where they won the championship at Lacrosse Catbirds. All right. We got the high-flying, slammer-jammer, jump shot, finger roll, Vince Hamilton. What's going on, Vince?
Man. You make me feel like I'm about ready to jump out of the screen right now and do something.
Come on with it.
Nice to be on, man. Nice to be on.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Listen, thanks for coming on the show. We got people tuning in from all over. I don't know what that means, but welcome to Sports Shop 27. Thanks for tuning in. For Vince, for the people that's tuning in and don't know a little bit about you, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Well, you know, you can probably hear my accent. My dirt, I'm from North Carolina, man. Small town, Rutherford, North Carolina. That's where my dirt is. That's where my feet rubbed on the ground. That's where it started at. So I came from North Carolina. From North Carolina. Then from there, I played at RS Central High School. We won the state championship and got picked up by Clemson at the last minute. I was the last guy in the country to be signed. The last guy, believe me, I did not even supposed to be at Clemson. It happened. Matter of fact, tell you the truth, I was gonna sign with, I think, Appalachian State and Bobby Clemens. I said, I give you 7. I said, at the end of the week, I'll sign with you. And on the last day, Clemson called and said, hey, we had somebody transfer. We ain't even seen you. We don't even know everything about you, but we want to check you out. So they checked me out and they said, oh, we're ready to sign you.
All right. There we go. And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes.
All right now. What age you started playing sports, and what sport was your first love?
I started playing basketball, man. I think I had to be in the 2nd grade. And my mother was a school teacher and my daddy was a barber. You know, that's the little club. My dad was a barber. So I remember it had to be around the 2nd grade because I remember my daddy bought me a basketball hoop, put it down in our basement. And my mother was a school teacher and she was playing ball with me down there and I hit her in the eye. And she went to school and said, God, what happened to you? What happened to you at your home? What's going on at your home? And she had to make all these explanations. Hey, that's my son. He hit me in the eye. So I started at a young age, man. Young age. I really did. I liked all the sports. I played football, baseball, basketball. You know, I played track. I love cross country. I love all sports.
Okay, cool. Right. So growing up, did you have any older siblings that you looked up to?
I didn't. I was the oldest in my family of 4 kids, and but my cousins that live right next to me were super basketball players in their own right during their time. Boy, they brought me up. I mean, boy, you talking about some street basketball. You talking about really playing street basketball. You know, you got to remember, I'm from North Carolina. I'm right down the street, maybe 15 miles from where DT is from, David Thompson.
Yeah.
So you know, so like, hey, basketball, you know, in the state of North Carolina, that's king. And it don't matter what they bring there, basketball is always going to be king. So played on the streets. My cousins got me, you know, tough and every day out there on the basketball court, man. And I tell you, that changed my whole direction and everything. And I got to give a lot of credit to them because they were rough on me. I'm not kidding you. They were rough on me in a good way, though. They were trying to prepare me. They knew you're going to go out in the world from this little small place and you're going to be playing against everybody in the world and you better be ready. And I was.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was it an NBA player you looked up to when you was a child?
Oh man, I love David Thompson. I love John Drew, and for sure, I love Magic Johnson and Dr. J. Those are old man. Look, I was always looking at. I was staying up at, when everybody's out partying, I was up at 12 o'clock at night watching them NBA games because that's when they was on back in those days. You couldn't even hardly get one unless it was on Sunday or late at night sometimes. So that's the guys I followed.
Man,
okay, cool. So talk about playing organized ball a little bit. When you started playing organized ball, what sport was the first sport that you played, and what position did you play?
My first organized ball was football, and I was a running back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was a running back in Pee Wee football. That's where it started at, Pee Wee football, and I also played baseball. I was a pitcher and also a pitcher and shortstop, and that's the positions I played too in Little League. So those are two that I started off right away with, and had some very good coaches. Had some guys that really spent a lot of time and effort in making sure we knew the fundamentals, making sure that we were tough, those type of things. And I really appreciate those guys, all those coaches that I had back in those days. They set the tone for me for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So once you reached the high school level, did you play right away?
I tell you, I came from a middle school, and actually it was called the New Hope Tigers. New Hope, there's New Hope Tigers, and we hadn't lost a game. We didn't lose a game. I don't know when New Hope has ever lost a game. Tell you the truth, that's how good our coach. It was Coach Edward Craig. He was the coach there because I came up in segregation, so I started off in an all-black school, and then transitioned. As I started to play middle school into integrated school. But he taught us how to win. That's the first coach I had. Look, he was a health class teacher and made sure you got your grades and you made sure you were gonna win. He made sure of that. He was gonna do all the things, and we won every game. So when I went to high school, they had a good team, pretty good team, a lot of good players. I tried out as a freshman, and believe it or not, I was a shy kid at that time, and they was trying out, and I went out, kind of peeked through the window while they was trying out, and one of the guys, Oscar Mooney was his name, big Oscar Mooney. He was the best player on the team at that time. He said, "Come on down," and then one of my neighbors, Thomas, he said, "Come on down. What you talking about? Come on down, try out." So I went down and tried out, right? I was good enough. I made the team. But that whole season, we had a different coach, right? And he was like, "I'm not playing no freshman." Even though I made the varsity.
Okay.
I didn't play until the last game of the season when everybody's like, put him in. So he put me in the last 30 seconds of the season. I get in, I steal the basketball, and I dunk it. The next year, we get a brand new head coach, Coach Stacy Leo, and everything changed. He threw out the balls and said, "Look, I don't care who you are, what color you are. I don't care if you're poor or rich. When you come here, if you put the work in, you're gonna play for me."
Yeah, go play the best player.
And it changed everything, man. We won the state championship, 32-0. We ended up my high school career. We ended up being the best team. We still have the best team after 40-some years. We have the best record in the state of North Carolina in high school ever. Still today. And they made a movie out of it, 32-0. It's a podcast out of it.
Okay.
All right.
So, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
Check that out.
So talk about playing shooting guard. When you were in high school, your freshman year, were you the shooting guard or point guard? What position did you play?
I started off as I actually started off as kind of a guard forward. And then as I got taller, I started moving more like to the 3 and 4 position. And because I was just taller than that, and we had 2 other smaller good guards on our team that was really good. So I had to play that position. And so I got a lot of points by just offensive rebounding and dunking and stealing and a few jump shots. I didn't had to make a lot of jump shots in high school, you know. So when I went to Clemson, it was a little different, right? So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, they put me at guard. And I remember the coach Coach Foster sitting in, and Clint Bryant sitting in my room. They said, "Yo, you got all these accolades in high school." He said, "You know what? This is what they told me. They said, you're going to come to Clemson, but you're not even going to play for 2 years." They said, "We have 2 players in number 9 and number 10 player in the country coming here as a freshman. We got number 25, and you're the 4th one. And we went to the Elite 8 last year, and we got Larry Nance coming back, Mitchell Wiggins. We got the rest of the guys coming in, Horace White, and you're not going to get to play for 2 years." And I said, "That's where I'm going." I said, "I don't care. This is where I'm going. You told me I can't do it. Oh, don't say that. I know how much work I done put in and who I done played with." So by the 7th game of the season, we were playing Isaiah Thomas and the Indiana Hoosiers, Bobby Knight, out in Hawaii. And that's when Nance was on the team. And that night, for the game, Coach, I had been playing really well. 7th game of the season, Coach said, he wrote up on the board, "Vince, you starting tonight." From then on, I started the rest of my career. I started the rest of my career. Like, that was it. I was like, I held on to it the rest of my career after that. And we won that game, too. That's the year they won the national championship.
Yep. So talk about in high school when you your senior year. Talk about your I guess the All-Star game. Did you play in the All-American All-Star game, the McDonald's All-American?
Well, I didn't play in the McDonald's All-American. I was one of the selected ones. You know, I was an honorary type player for that. But I was in the North Carolina All-Star game, which you can basically, when you talk about North Carolina, almost every one of the guys went to, either Wake Forest, North Carolina. All the guys on our team went to an ACC team, basically, on that team, you know. And so that's the All-Star game. That was the North Carolina All-Star game that I played for that year. And we won that game. Yes. Yes. So it was an experience down in Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. And, everybody was there. It wasn't like these days, you see everything on TV. You got all the Twitter, you got everything, which I'm not complaining about it. But it was like a big deal then. Like, man, let's go to the All-Star. It was a big deal. Everything was a big deal because it was not that much stuff going on,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Coming out of high school, I know you chose Clemson. What other schools was looking at you at that time?
Because we were from a smaller area, had never won the state championship. And we had one guy, Lou Young, who had went to Gardner-Webb in college, and we didn't have a lot of guys that went to college out of our area, so we didn't really get scouted that much, even though we was in the state. So we really didn't get scouted a lot, even though we won the state championship. Believe it or not, North Carolina, who recruited me, they came and watched me. Roy Williams and all, they came and checked me out as a junior, a sophomore, and they told me, they said, "Hey, once you come to our basketball camp," that's what they do. They bring you to the basketball camp, and then you play against all the best players, right? Yeah. And that summer, right before the state track meet, because I was a high jumper, I broke my kneecap, and I couldn't go anywhere. My junior year, I couldn't go to any schools, nothing. All summer, I stayed home with a cast on. And back in the day, we didn't have no rehab. There was no doctors.
It took a little
I rehabbed myself all summer. I had to take a cast. I had a cast on for 8 weeks, and then I took it off and just did my own work and got myself back ready for the senior season. So I had a lot of small colleges giving me offers, and a few big ones like Appalachian State and but Clemson was the biggest one. And they came in like at the last second. It was like it was a blessing, So
wow.
Yeah.
So you get to Clemson University. Who's the player or student or coach that embraced you on campus?
Well, first of all, the coach was Clint Bryant. He was the assistant coach there at the time. And he's a guy that always was, helping the guys out and doing all the extra things that needed to be done, off campus. And then my roommate was Raymond Jones from Union, South Carolina. And then the guys I hung out with all the time was Larry Nance and Horace White. Those are two. He was one from Anderson, South Carolina. One from was from Hartsfield, South Carolina. And, those big guys, both of them 6'11", 6'10", like, hey, all my guys was like taller than me. Like, hey, look, I could go anywhere. Ain't nobody messing with me. Because I had 3 big ones around me, baby. I'll tell you. Yeah. So those guys showed me the ropes. They showed me the ropes. They had been, they actually, that's the best team that Clemson, that's the farthest Clemson had ever went to in the NCAAs. They went to the Elite 8 that year. That's the farthest Clemson any team has ever went in the NCAA playoffs. And that the year before I got there, they went there. Yeah. So.
All right. So you get there, your first day of practice. What did you learn about college basketball versus high school?
Man, college basketball is a different level. Physically, for sure, different level mentally, without a doubt. I remember going through those practices and I had my shirt on backwards and people was laughing at me like I was that confused, man, because it was just so much coming at me at one time, right? It was so much coming at me, even though we went there in the summertime. And but when you dig deep in that heart and you can play, once I got my game going and I start to spot that, hey, look, wait a minute now. I can do this, I can do that. These guys right here, these are I can play with these guys. Like once I figured that out, it changed my whole thought process. And then I really went to work. I just worked, man. I worked. I'm telling you, around the clock, I worked. I'm telling you. So, yeah.
And what kind of coach was Bill Foster?
Bill Foster was a good coach, man. That guy was smart, just very smart, man. We had a different kind of system. You know, the game was different then, you know. Even Michael, you know, was a friend of mine. Like, you know, Dean harnessed him. Everybody, you know, it wasn't as much running, and, you know, it's a different system then. So Coach Foster was there, and, you know, I had two coaches. So I had Coach Foster for 4 years. And then my senior year, which I had to switch position, I had Cliff Ellis. Oh, so that was a transition too for me, because when he came in, I had to switch positions. I was one of the leading scorers. I had to switch position to start off as point guard for the season. And that means I got to distribute the ball. I got to, you know, and that changed a lot of things in my game, you know, but it helped me also. So,
smart.
Yeah.
Gave you more court vision, right?
Yeah, more court vision, more thinking about everybody else, you know, on the team, you know, and
So did you get to play with Horace Grant?
Yes, man. I mean, Horace, you know, Horace and Harvey, I remember those guys. Those guys, man, I'm so proud of those guys, how far they went and what they did, because they both from Sparta, Georgia. They had a hard, you know, pretty tough life coming up, you know, from Sparta, Georgia. I remember my first time, most people don't know this, but I remember Coach Bryant told me, he said, you know, Horace and Harvey came in, and those guys, you thought I was slim. Those guys were slimmer than me, but Horace and Harvey, but they were 6'8", 9, 6'10", babe, you know. And they came down the training table, and they looked and they saw all that food. They was like, what? What is this? I was like, man, we like this every day. Steak, everything you want. You know, you can go down there and get it every day. I said, slow down. Wait a minute now. You don't have to be like that. You know, it's there for us, man. Yeah. And those guys, they were so didn't have that much then. I remember I had those member-only jackets. You remember we had those member-only jackets back in the day? The black. And Coach said, hey, could you give one of those jackets? We was going somewhere cold. Could you give one of your jackets? I gave one of those guys my jacket, you know. But Horace and Javi, those dudes, man, Clint, Coach Bryant back in the days when he recruited, he always found guys that nobody else knew about, either didn't look or didn't think they were going to turn out. I was one of those guys. Yeah. Harvey and Hart, they wasn't highly recruited either. And he found them.
Man.
Wow. They both.
It was people over
Larry Nance the same way. He was just one that wasn't recruited highly. Wow. I mean, so this is before Clemson really got, big into basketball. Tree was the big guy that was recruited that everybody knew about, Tree Rollins, and his rifle. He's the beacon, so he's a great one.
Yep.
Hey, talk about the competition in the ACC back in the 80s.
Man, I tell guys, the kids now are good. I'm not knocking them. I love what they do, and they got to do what they do in their time. Everybody's got to do what they time.
That's right.
But the ACC and even college, they're not even close to what we used to be. They're not even. I mean, you're talking about Worthy, Jordan, Perkins, Ralph Sampson. People don't understand how good Ralph Sampson was because his NBA career curled off because of injuries and all that. I mean, truthfully, when I was in the ACC, Ralph Sampson, when I went in there, he was the GOAT. Like, he was the guy that when he walked in, oh man, the crowds would be outside our arena when we get ready to go in there. They were out there waiting on him just to see him. He was the big guy, even though Carolina was good. Then you're talking about bias and I mean, every night, Buck Williams, every time, Sally, I mean,
wow.
Gardner, every night we played, man, you was playing NBA players. I mean, we had a top conference, no doubt about it. When there was no doubt about it, there was no other conference close to being the ACC from top to bottom during those days. So it was like we were like a little pro league, basically, back in those days. I mean, everywhere you went, it was just competition. And we knew when we go play other people, like, hey, we knew because we played in that conference, we knew we could beat other teams because we went through the heat with all the other teams we played, So
well, that transitioned us into a highlight. I got some film for you. You can sit back and relax. Make sure you stay with us. Everybody that's tuning in, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and Deezer. Tonight's show is special guest, former Clemson Hall of Fame shooting guard / point guard, and Indiana Pacer and lacrosse catbird shooting guard Vince Hamilton. All right, let's go ahead and get into this video, and we'll be right back.
Our first ACC legend led the conference in field goal percentage as a guard, shooting a system 58.6% during the 1981-82 season. He is one of only two guards to lead the league in that category in the last 20 years. He is one of only four players in conference history to total at least 1,500 points, 500 rebounds, and 300 assists during his career. He is also the only guard to lead Clemson in rebounding, once grabbing 18 in a single game. A native
Yes, sir. We back.
Oh man, you got me all excited. If I watched that, I'm ready. It's about 20 or 30 below zero up here in Wisconsin. I'm about ready to go out there and shoot some ball in it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking good out there. Looking good out there. I lost KJ. He should be coming back. But talk about the competition. You like you said before, playing against North Carolina. Here's KJ.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back, KJ. So just like I was saying, talking about the competition, you pretty much scored the leading scorer in ACC, 16,000 points or 1,600 points, 300 assists, All-American, All ACC. I mean, every category you can mention in basketball in the stat sheet, you pretty much dominated at Clemson and became the athlete of the year at the school. Talk about that a little bit. Did you see yourself doing that after being picked the last scholarship for your team?
No, I didn't, man. I was just, it was a blessing, and something gave me the inkling that, I got to go and try. I've always had dreams. I did a lot of sacrifice. I remember when I was younger, actually, when I was in high school, I never went to the prom, and my house was down the street from where the school is. And I can remember everybody going up the street that night blowing their horn at me, because the girl that I supposed to went to the prom with, I called her, believe it or not, my mom was mad at me, boy. Oh, she's like, and told her, no, I can't go. I can't go. So I was out there shooting basketball while everybody else went up the street. I was shooting basketball. My mind was set when I was younger. It's like, I'm going to be a pro basketball player. Nobody's going to stop me from doing it. It was set. It wasn't nobody change. I don't know how I'm going to get there all the way, but I'm going to get there. And that's what I believe, and I put the work in. So for as a competition, I played guys on the street better sometimes than some of the guys. It's not always the best player in the world that makes it. People don't really understand it. It's not always the best player. It's being the best player with all the stars lining up at the right time. A lot of time, it's the right time and everything around you at the same time. There's a ton of good players I've seen and matched up before. Like, man, why is this guy? Why is this guy not playing? And we never see those guys, right? But there's a lot of guys like that, But you know what? You got to beat those guys too if you want to be on the big stage. You got to play against everybody to get on the big stage. You start off in a little stage, and that's where everybody starts, and you got to work your way up. You're gonna. When I used to talk to Michael, he used to call it knocking somebody off the box. You off the block. You're on that block, and you got to stay on that block. Somebody knock you off, then you become king on that block till somebody knock you off, right? Right. And that's kind of how it is. I remember when I used to, in my wall at Clemson, I put down every guard, including Michael. I had to, every time I played against, I checked them off. We might have lost the game, but most of the times I was better than those guys. I'm not kidding you. Most of the times my stats was better overall. We just lost the game. We didn't have all the personnel. They had all the things, they had everything going for them. And that's a basketball school anyway, Clemson's a football school. And no matter what, it's going to be a football school. I don't care if they win a national championship. It's a football school. That's all to it. So, but I loved it. That's all right. My heart is orange with Tiger Ball.
That's right, man. And talk about playing in the ACC tournaments, and how far did y'all go? Did y'all make it to the Sweet 16 at that time? Or?
No, we did every single year. That's the one. I'm telling you, the one regret I had, and I don't have many regrets, in my career. I don't really have any regrets, really. Then just, I think when I look back at my career, choosing an agent and all them kind of different things, those are the things I look back that was things I just didn't know. But one thing I do have a regret is that the fact that while I was at Clemson, I never got to be in the NCAA playoffs. We went to the NIT every single year. Even the year Nance was on our team, we beat Indiana. We beat, and we were in the top 5 teams in the ACC then. and they still left us out.
Yeah.
We had 20-some wins that year. Everybody said, ain't no way we're supposed to not make it. When we beat Indiana, that's the year they won the national championship, beat North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they left us out because they didn't respect because we didn't have that, we didn't have that history of winning. Yeah, they let Maryland, they let all them go in before us. And we should have been in there. The other years, I would just say the only reason we didn't really make it a lot of times, we almost every year, either we had an injury or somebody young. For instance, like Horace Grant and Harvey Grant, those guys were young. When I came, they were young, so they really didn't have their self together. And we had a couple other guys got hurt. Something happened every year, and then the 3-point play, I got hurt and had a red shirt. As a matter of fact, Jerry, I remember talking to like Jerry West at the ACC tournament. He said, "Boy, you're good enough to come out to the NBA right now." Because I didn't even understand what they were talking about then. Like, I was just so, ignorant about it. I basically like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I'm good enough. And the next year, I made all ACC as a junior, and then I was run up rookie of the year to Sam Perkins. He beat me by 1 vote, North Carolina. He winning rookie of the year to ACC. So the next year I got hurt. The 3rd game of the season up in Alaska, I broke my wrist blocking the dunk, right? So I had the red shirt, and that's the year they brought the 3-point play in, right? Which that's my shot. That's all I probably would have had 28 points a game in the ACC because that's what my shot was, dunk or 3-point shot. So I didn't even get to play with the 3-point shot. The next year that I came back, they took it out. So I didn't get to play with the 3-point shot, but 3 games my whole career. If you put the 3-point shot, in my career, probably I'd be the leading scorer of all time in Clemson because that's what I shot. That's what I shot. So all these things went on, which I had no control over, that I say God had control over. And it was a blessing in disguise no matter what. So
yeah, you got that spirit.
Yeah, so that's kind of how that look at the guys was unbelievable who we played. Unbelievable. Yeah. And I had a high school. This is crazy. One of my high school teammates in the 32-0 team, he went to prep school one year, and then he came to Clemson, and both of us started for Clemson from a small town. Like, we both started from Clemson on the Clemson Tiger basketball team. That's like unheard of for two guys coming out of a small area like that. Yeah. And then after that, we had another guy that come to Clemson that started. So all of a sudden, Clemson was just like recruiting guys at our home area. That was one of the girls went to Clemson basketball. It became a recruiting field for high school once we went there.
All right. Yeah. So talk about playing on that Olympic team with Michael Jordan.
That was back in them days, now they call it USA basketball. Like, you got the top team and then you got the young team. Well, that was the young team. And so what happened then, we didn't go and play all overseas. What they did is they brought all the top college players, freshmen and sophomores, to Syracuse, New York. And you had the North team, the East, the West, and the South. We were on the South team. That was Michael, you seen the guys on there, Buzz, all North Carolina. We were on the team. Then on the other team was Patrick Ewing, Doc Rivers. All those guys was on all the other teams. Okay. And this is so crazy. I remember, when we were sitting around, and the coach at that time, I think his name was Mike Weber or something. Yeah, something like. He said he made this comment. He was a disciple of Bobby Knight, right? So we got the first day of practice. He said something sort of like, "You guys from the ACC think y'all good." And I think me and Michael and Buzz was looking at us, and Matt's like, "What is he talking about?" And we didn't start the first game, right? We lost. That's the game we lost. Lost it against Patrick M, right? The next game, we started all the rest of the game. We won all the rest of the games. But he wouldn't start us. And we could have had the gold medal. We ended up getting the silver medal. So that's a story like that. Like, that was like crazy.
He did just to spite you guys because you were going to be the headliner for the gold medal.
Yeah.
From the ACC.
Yeah, and and Bobby Knight and Dean Smith, all they was friends, but they hated each other too. You know, I mean, they beat North Carolina that one year. Like, man, it was like you guys from the ACC. They hated, like they didn't like us, man. It was like, wait a minute now, guys, we here to win. We don't care. We don't care where you from. We coming to win.
That's it.
That's it.
One thing only. Yeah. So you make the transition to going to the NBA. You got picked up by the Indiana Pacers. Talk about that experience a little bit.
Boy, what an experience. Had an unbelievable college career. And this is where, a lot comes up. First of all, I had my coach, as I told you, Bill Foss was there for 4 years. So I was in a system then, right? And all of a sudden, a big hiccup comes. He leaves and goes to Miami and starts that program, which ended up being an ACC later on, but it wasn't then. Mm-hmm. And now I got a whole new coach and I got to learn a whole new system. It's like starting over new, like clean the slate. I had to prove myself all over again, which, that don't matter to me. And then I had to play point guard. Well, as I told you before, I had to distribute the ball more, But I look back at, and I had some good coaches, and I look back at some of the things that I didn't get, like understanding the game. Like I really didn't understand the game of basketball truthfully till I got to the pros. Like I really didn't understand it. Like on the pro level, right? Like it's a different level, right? Matchups and all that kind of stuff. And I remember being in the airport after the game up in Maryland at the ACC tournament, and at the airport, Red Auerbach stopped me. Red Auerbach, now the grandfather of basketball, and this is before Phil Jackson. He stops me and says, "Son, let me come here for a minute." It was in the airport in Maryland. He said, "You know what? You're an NBA player." Mm-hmm. I said, "Thank you, sir." He said, "Now I'm tell you what. Now you need to drive to the basket more." Now, see, I didn't even pick up what he said. I didn't understand what he said by that, because he said, you just need to drive more. You shoot, you need to drive more. And I actually could drive. That wasn't a problem. I usually could drive and dunk on people.
You like shooting though.
But I stayed in the system, and the coaches never really told me to drive. They just played the system, right? They didn't really say, you need to drive. I played the system instead of really understanding that part of the game. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I need to drive more. That's your. He's told you what you need to do the next thing, and I need to integrate that into my game, right? And so, okay, I played, had a good season, ended up losing in the NIT the first game. And then this is a hiccup. So I didn't have an agent. Matter of fact, I didn't even understand that, right? And that's later on when I talked to Mike and all them guys. They say, hey, Joe, after we got through, Dean Smith said he had 5 of the top agents that said, hey, look, interview with all 5 of them and you can pick either one you want. I had nobody. It was like, first of all, there's a new coach, so he's got to think about his next season, right? He's got to move on. I was on my own. I didn't even have an agent. And they had me picked in Sports Illustrated and one of them other. They had me picked in the bottom of the first round. Indiana even called me and said they was gonna pick me in the first round. I'm not kidding you. This is how crazy it was. And so I didn't go to New York. I didn't go to because I was like, I'm just gonna stay at home and wait and do it this kind of way. And then the draft comes, and then the first round, then somebody else gets picked. And next thing I know, I was in the 4th round. That back in those days, there was 7 rounds. There was 7 rounds, it wasn't like 2 rounds. There was 7 rounds of players. I got picked in the 4th round. And then by the Indiana Pacers, went up there, went to rookie camp. They had a lot of veterans there. It's all kind of guys in them camps, And I beat them all out. They invited me back to Vets camp. Went to Vets camp. And then when I went to Vets camp, played well. But if you notice my stats on NBA.com, they 0, because that's what they are. They get to play, they 0, but that's what they are. I signed my contract with them before they cut me and released me was $75,000 back then. That was considered minimum back then, because and I look back at that. I didn't have an agent, And the coach, when they released me, they said, Vince, you actually played better than all our guards we got here. But we cannot keep you. This is why I tell people, it ain't about the best player. We can't keep you. And I knew I was. I knew I was better at that time, the way I played in the camp. And so, but he said, our owners want to keep these guys. You know what? They won the national championship last year. You know, which was Bill Martin, which was a roommate of mine up there, Dwayne McClain, played for Villanova. They won the national. They got all the, they got a marketing around them. They gave them guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
Look, so they stayed. I ended up both of those guys ended up playing with me on my one of my CBA championship teams. Both of them. So all three of us ended up on the same team for Flip. When we won our first CBA championship team. Basically, everybody in my CBA championship team played in the NBA. Every player. Like, it's unreal.
Let's go take a look at that real quick. I got a clip with Flip Saunders, and we're talking about that. We can go ahead and segue right into that real quick. For everybody watching, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. We have today special guest Vince Hamilton, former Clemson Hall of Fame, ACC legend, and Indiana Pacer. All right, let's go ahead and check out this clip real quick.
This week's Throwback Thursday celebrates the 30th and 28th anniversaries of the CBA titles won by the lacrosse Catbirds. The one common thread on the bench during those championship seasons was the late Flip Saunders. 14 years ago, I took a stroll down memory lane with Flip and former Catbirds assistant Don Zierden. At the time, they were pursuing an NBA title with the Detroit Pistons.
So this is the locker room, that's right.
Yeah. It was almost 14 years ago to the day that the two longtime friends and colleagues led the CBA's Catbirds to their second league title.
Whatever you could fit in that place, 5,300 people were there. But as Flip said, 10, 15 years later, there's probably about 10 or 15,000 people in lacrosse that say that they were at that Game 7.
I mean, we had great fans. The people were very much into the team. A lot of close friends. I mean, to this day, of course, Hotshot and Sybil, everybody knows about, and Hotshot passed away, but Sybil, Debbie, keeps in contact with her almost on a weekly basis, and she's 90 years old now, and those are two of our biggest fans. But we had great fans back then, very loyal.
Fast forward to today, where the two are now leading the Pistons, the team that finished with the best record in the NBA this season and the odds-on favorite to win it all. But it was here in lacrosse where the foundation for success in the pros was built.
CBA is one of the most difficult leagues to coach in because realistically, your guys don't want to be there. They want to be in the NBA or they want to be making money overseas. So if you get those guys to win championships like Flip did, it just makes it easier at the next level. A lot of coaches would be all nervous. Oh, what are we going to do tonight? We don't have this guy. We don't have that guy. Flip just says we'll win with what we have. We would come up with nicknames: the Grade 8, the Super 7, whatever we had, and that's how, 7, and you got it done.
Flip and Z have had a mutual respect for each other for quite some time. They first met roughly 30 years ago.
I was working a basketball camp. He was kind of playing. I actually ended up coaching his team. I nicknamed him Mad Dog because he was diving all over the floor for loose balls, and very intense player, and someone that at that point, I admired how he played.
Since then, the two have been coaching together for 13 seasons. Success seems to follow them. They had a string of 9 straight winning seasons working together in the CBA and NBA, and last year. That's when Saunders was fired by the Timberwolves after going 25-26. A remarkable run started in lacrosse.
I mean, there's many times I'll bring up my CBA days to our players, and I think it's very important. Anyone, you always have to remember where you came from. Don't ever forget that.
Many of you recall Saunders died in October of 2015 after a 4-month battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes, sir. We back. Rest in peace, Flip Saunders. We had to give him a shout out. Your former coach. Man. Talk about him a little bit.
Man, I miss Flip, man. Flip was a good guy, man, and a basketball mind, man. I remember the first day Flip first came to lacrosse. He took me out to lunch, and I was the only guy here because I was kind of like guy that stayed in the community. You know, I did a lot of marketing. I always had 2 contracts when I was in the CPA, you know, so I did. So I did So he said, what you want to do? I said, 2 things, Flip. I want to have an opportunity to get to the league, NBA. That's where I want to go. I don't want to go overseas. That's what my goal, right? I either want to go to NBA or I want to win a championship. And we had came close to winning championships before with our previous coach, which was Ron Ecker, who actually brought the team here like 4 years before that. And I played 3 of those years with him. So that's what I told him. And he said, okay, that's what we're going to do. We went to work. And I tell you, man, I got to know Flip so well. You know, my wife, she can tell you, you know, he would be calling me as a player, you know, as I got older in those latter years. I became a coach also with him. But before that, he kind of used me as a coach. He would call me any time of the night and say, Vince, what you think about this player? Should we move him? Because, man, when you play in the CBA, people don't understand this. There is no guaranteed contracts. So I played 9 years, 10 years in the CBA with no guaranteed contract. And guys, I mean, 1 year, we had 60 guys come through our team in 1 year. I mean, either they went to the NBA or they got cut. But I didn't get cut. You have to be so tough-minded and strong it's different than the G League now. Them guys getting paid some decent money, a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, they got $1 million contracts. Some of them got $1 million contracts back and forth. That wasn't the case in the CBA. Everybody's like you said, it wasn't a high-paying league, but the competition was just unreal. I mean, truthfully, it was tougher in the CBA to make my CBA team than when I went to the NBA. I hate to say it, but it was, because the competition was ferocious, like cutthroat, ferocious, like to try to get back up to the league, right? Yep. So it was ferocious. But Flip, you know, just a great guy, man. Great guy. Players love to play for him. He didn't you didn't call him coach, call him Flip. This is what I related to. You know, you have some coaches that dictators, and then you got some of them coaches that believe in relationships, and they believe in partnerships, right? Flip was a partnership coach. He would always say, you guys get me to the last 5 minutes of the game, and us coaches would take it from there. But you get me there. I loved it. We loved it, man. We're going to get you there. You take us the rest of the way. It's a partnership, right? That's right. I love Flip. Love Flip, man. Love Flip. You know, Kevin Garnett, that's a big guy with Flip too, you know, when he doing his time. I went to games and done stuff with him and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Flip was a special guy. And if you look at one of the greatest coaches in the league, in the NBA ever coached, where he started at, Phil Jackson, Albany Patrons. His first championship, before he got to the Bulls, he coached the Albany Patrons in the CBA. I know that because I played on the Maine Windjammers my first year in the CBA. I played on 3 teams. First of all, I played on Tampa the first year with Cindy Loam. The day of the first game, check this out. I'm a little rookie, coming in. The day of the first game, the coach comes in and say, Vince, I'm in the locker room. Get to the hotel. We traded you. So I'd go there, I'd fly up to Worcester, Massachusetts, play 2 weeks for them, get traded to Maine, Bangor, Maine. Okay. And then from Bangor, Maine, I finish out the season. And before the next season starts, Phil Jackson trades for me at Albany, New York. And then from there, lacrosse got me to come to lacrosse during the summer, sometime between it. So I didn't get to play for Phil because I got traded to lacrosse. But that's where he started at. George Carr. A lot of good coaches started in the CBA. And it's tougher because you got different guys coming in. It ain't like you got the same team every week. You know, you got to be able to put the team together just like that, system and everything. And we would have 80 plays. I know this is what Flip would say. I know he said, you get that playbook, we had 80 plays. He's like, I'm telling you what, watch who I'm going to cut next. Watch who I'm going to cut because they don't know the plays. Guys didn't know the plays. You didn't know those, you was out of there. I'm just telling you, you was out of there. You had to know like 4 plays for every NBA team, and you better know them plays, right? Because he'd be calling them in the game. You know, specific guys. You know, we getting on. He'd be calling them plays, and you better know them. And guys got cut. couldn't stay there because of. I mean, but that's what helped him rise up in the league, and that's how Phil Lamb was too. So,
yeah. So when you had to hang up the jersey, what was next?
I tell you, when I hung up the jersey, I had already started preparing like my about 2 years out from finishing up, right? 2 or 3 years. I played 9 years, 10 years. I had said to myself, my mother was a school teacher, my aunt was a school teacher, my uncle was a principal, and so books was always a big thing for me, getting your schoolwork and, you know, doing that. So I didn't finish up at Clemson because I got drafted. And then I went right into Indiana, then from there to the CBA. So I couldn't be in school. I went in school for 7 years and I had to go back, right? I went back 7 years later in the summer and finished my degree, took 21 credits, finished my degree, and graduated on my birthday. Yes, I did. Yes. And then from then, I became a coach. I worked in the marketing department for the team. I became assistant coach. And so I started working myself kind of in the basketball. And then behold, the team left, Flip left, you know, went to Minnesota. Our team here got sold. And I was here in La Crosse deciding what I was going to do. I just got married. What I'm going to do? I could have went with Flip. I didn't, or stay. So I stayed here and I became the lead person. I went and searched for some teams. And I actually went down to flew to Chicago and got it was called the Chicago Rockers, met with their owners and talked them into coming to La Crosse. And I became, really, I brought the team here. I basically got them to bring the team here, and I had all the personnel coaches and everything, you know, and we had the La Crosse Bobcats of the CBA. So I was in a managerial executive position for a while there, and a coach. And so, yeah, that's what I did after that. And I also am an entrepreneur, you know, in business. And, my wife and we had a chiropractic business that we just sold about a year or two ago. And so I was an entrepreneur, and I'm still an entrepreneur too. So it's always been business and basketball. And my dad was a businessman, barber. And I've always been into 2 B's, business and basketball.
business and ball, baby.
Yeah.
You know it. Right. You know it. So just talking about, your past career, what has basketball taught you in a nutshell?
I tell you what it's taught me. I love all sports, and all sports are great at bringing people together in the world. It's one of the biggest things. I mean, you know what? Because you got to sweat. You got to touch people different colors than you, different race, different backgrounds. You got to be in that huddle. I mean, in that team locker room with somebody that ain't from your house, right? You got to have one goal in mind. So that's the big thing I think about sports. And then when I look at basketball, which the one I love the most, the reason why I love the game is because it's the game that when somebody's in a game, everybody has the chance to do everything, like pass, shoot, dribble. You get to do everything. It's unlike any other sport. You don't get to do everything. You get to play defense, rebound. You can do anything in that sport. But I think what the sport taught me is, and I think I look at it through basketball, it taught me that sometimes you got to assist somebody in life. It taught me lots in game. The game taught me you got to assist people in life. Sometimes you got to block bad things out in life that's coming your way. That's why I tell young kids. I work with Horace Grant. I've done a lot of things with the youth, and I have my own programs and stuff. You got to block things out, like blocking a shot. Sometimes you got to block them out, right?
That's right.
Sometimes you got to defend things. you know, in life. You got to defend yourself. You know, you got to defend yourself. You can't let just anything come and do whatever it wants to you. You know, sometime you got to take your shot. You know, they only come around something. You got to take your shot.
That's right.
You know, and the biggest one, just like life, is you got to dribble up and down. That's just like life. You know, you look at that monitor in the hospital and that thing going, that heartbeat goes up and down, up and down. That's what I tell kids. This is one of the things I tell kids about, and it taught me this through basketball, through just being around people. You know, life has got positives and negatives in it. And it's like a battery. If you don't know how to use both of them, you ain't got no power. You got to be able to use an offense on it. People say, well, defense wins championships. I say, that's bull. Ain't no defense win no championship. It's balanced is winning. You got to have an offense and a defense.
Right.
You got to have both of them.
Both of them.
And I think our creator, you know, the God that made us, when I learned to realize that in basketball and life, that, you know, it's going to be up and down like the dribble. You know, you don't want things to be flatline because you're dead. You know, you're dead when you're flatline.
Right.
And basketball is the dribble. And that last one, when you fall on your butt in football, basketball, you got to rebound. You got to get back up.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get up, man. And keep playing.
You got to rebound in life. You got to
Yeah.
When you start equating that stuff to life, everything I do in life now, you know, everybody's got ups and downs in their life. But those things that I got in me, I don't ever think I can't get through something just because of playing the game. I know I can get through it. I've seen games being down 20 points and we come back. Life is the same way. You're going to be down 20 points. Somebody's going to have an advantage on you. This is going to happen. But if you don't quit and stick to it and get back up and keep grinding and keep helping people, you got to help. The more you give, the more you receive. You know, take your shots when they come out. Keep trying. That's what a shot is. Michael said in his book, trying. You got to keep trying in life. Your shot will come. You'll make some of them. That's what I love about the game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my next question is, you know, you talk about a lot of coaches, talk about a lot of players you play with. Now, fast forward to today's game. Who are your favorite players to watch in the NBA?
Well, my favorite player after, you know, Kobe, I used to love Kobe Bryant. You know, everybody say he's like Michael, but you know what? He was different than Michael too in a little ways, and that's okay to be like Mike. Oh my God, people are like, oh, he's copying him. What you mean copy him, man? Who do you want to copy? Shoot, Michael Jordan, man. You know, Michael, you know, that's a guy, you know, that's a friend of mine. I had some real games with Michael on the off court and on the court. So, but you know, I like a lot of the guys. You know, it's a different league now. You know, I like Steph. I like Steph Curry because when you look at a little guy like that, you know, people look at it like, oh, that little guy when he first went in, he can't play. He can't play in the NBA. He can't do this. He can't do that.
Yeah.
You know. He's proved everybody wrong. He's truly changed the game. He's changed the game. You know, like Michael changed the game and Magic, like he's changed the game. You know, 3-point shot now. That's what I tell when I'm coaching kids. Like, look, I tell coaches like, look, 3-point shot now. Do you understand that if a team makes threes, that I got to shoot 50% at twos, which may take me 6 shots to overpower 1 3?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You understand? Like and who shoots 50%? I did. I shot 58% my career, but most guys don't shoot no 40%. So they shooting 2-pointers. They never gonna catch up. Them guys making 3, you're never gonna catch up with them.
No.
You see what I'm saying? Making 2s, you can't beat them. You're not gonna beat them making 2s. That's what I'm saying. You know. So, and I just like the NBA. I watch it every single night. Every single night I watch it. I love to see, you know, I don't try to match guys with eras. So well, them guys right there better than this era. Kevin, you know, he's great. Brooklyn kid. But you know, when you look at those guys, I say, you know what? You're saying that now, just like you look at Wilt and they look at Bill Russell and Kareem and all those guys, man, they said, well, them guys they are just as good, because I'm telling you, if they'd have played in this day, wherever you set the bar, because of their mindset, they're gonna reach that bar. It doesn't matter what you say about if they was playing in this game, if Michael was playing in this game right now today, he would be better than anybody. I'm just trying to check because I know how he is. I played cards with. I know exactly how that dude is. He is not gonna let you beat him. Like he said, I want control, and I'm gonna beat you. And if you're doing this, I'm gonna do more than you. And he's gonna do it. You know, he'll be better than LeBron. Even though I like LeBron, LeBron is an awesome player too. He still ain't better than Mike, though. I hate to say it. He ain't better than Mike yet. He ain't better than Mike yet. He overall
top five. Give me your top 5 all time. Your starting 5.
Oh, my start 5. Okay. You know, I'm going to start Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. Boy, this is hurting me. But I'm going to start Bill Russell, and I'm going to start Kareem Jabbar. You said, why are you starting them guys? And, you know, and my second team would be totally different what you think. And the reason why is because I said, you add all those rings up. You can add all those rings up, and ain't nobody got them. And that means wins. Now, you can go get them guys. You can go get them. But you know what? Those guys right there got the athletes, and they got the wins. Yeah. And that's I don't want to leave Wilt off there, because Wilt is just, I hate that Wilt. People don't realize how good he was. You know, he's got to be one. But Kareem has got to be one too. Mm-hmm. You know, and Magic's got to win. You know, I love Kobe, but I can't put him over Mike. And I'm gonna put Bird in there because he's one of them guys that's not gonna let you beat him either. You know, he's just one of them guys. I know I played him against some guys. You're just not gonna beat them guys, man. If they got some teammates, you're not gonna beat them. I don't care who you got on your team. You know, and so that's my guys. You're always gonna leave somebody off, which would, to me, it would have been Will. Is the only one I think that's the guy that and I love the guys now, but they still got to prove a few more things to me. The league is different. Back in my day, you know, you guys play basketball like on the streets. I could check a guy all the way up the court with my hand. Like I could move you around. That wasn't a foul. Like I could push you like this with my hand all the way up and down the court and direct you on defense. Go look at those games. Nowadays, they can't touch a guy. You can't even go in there and touch. Back in my day, you come through the lane. They taught us. Yeah. Come across the lane, hit them, and make them go the other way. Now you can't do any of that. I mean, the game is so easy compared to that then. You look at when Michael was playing against all those teams, how they were flipping him and hitting them and knocking them down. See, those guys ain't got that now. It's easy now. They're going to call a foul every time they go in there. That didn't happen back in our day. Yeah. It's kind of like football is now, too. Now you can't touch the quarterback. I mean, come on. Can't touch the quarterback. Back in the day, they kill a quarterback. You couldn't. It's the same. You know, it's like a whole different game. I'm not knocking it because I understand things got to change. I'm just saying that game back when we used to play was tougher. And that you got to give credit to them. It was a tougher game. It was just totally tougher, you know? Yep. So, you know, that's my take on it. I'm not saying anything. That's just my take on it. Everybody's got their own opinion, you know. So.
Yes, sir. Hey, you got any shout outs before we head out?
Huh?
You have any shout outs before we head out?
Oh, I just want to say a shout out to all my coaches, especially my coaches. Coach Edward Craig in middle school, Coach Lael and Coach Hines in basketball, my college coaches, Coach Foster and Coach Ellis and all the assistant coaches, Coach Bryant, my pro coaches, Coach Ecker and Flip. But you know what? The biggest coach that I'm going to get a shout out is to my parents. My parents, man. You know, my parents and my kinfolk, you know, those people was behind me when I was nothing, you know, and my aunts and uncles and grandpas and grandmas and my church members and all those folks. They made me. They made me. They can say what they, and God, of course, you know, that's always. That's always. But I got to give a shout out to those folks, you know, and they made me. And then now the people who make me is my wife and my kids, you know, that's who my shout out goes to, you know, and all the fans out there. Whenever I played, you know, I think when I played, they always say he's the hardest working guy, because I played to represent whoever that liked me as a player. Like I felt like I'm representing folk. You know what I mean? When I'm on the court, and I'm gonna give you every single thing I got, because your spirit is in here with me. I'm playing for you too. You know, that's what a lot of young people don't understand. I told my youngest boy in college right now, I said, I used to think of myself as looking at myself on the court, and all, you know, everybody that you look down in that arena that's for you, you basically they're looking at like just them.
That's right.
You know, that's me out there. I have something to do with that guy, and it's true. They do. Their spirit is, you know, they do have something to do with it. That's why programs like a Clemson, these programs that got all this spirit around, that's why they continue to be that way, because they got such a spirit around them, right? You know, they got such a spirit. Those folks put everything into it, and it makes a difference.
That's true.
Man.
So that's the shout out I want to give.
It was an awesome show, man. We appreciate you coming on, Mr. Hamilton.
Call me Vince, man. I told my man to call me Vince, and I'll be 60 this year, and I still want to be Vince, but at least 20 more years if I can make it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey,
I know how that feels.
It's tough, man.
Real. The life we living right now, man. We hope we all get to see 20 years later.
Yeah,
you know?
man. You're right. You're right.
Rough.
You inspire me.
You go.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why we have this program, to celebrate people and their accomplishments, also to inspire the youth and motivate the kids who are watching. We appreciate you coming on the show tonight. You had a lot of legendary stories, a lot of great memories, and we'll love to have you back on the show anytime, Mr. Vince.
Thanks, man. You guys keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing good things in the world. Good things are coming to you even more.
Bless, sir. We appreciate it. For everybody that's watching, make sure you subscribe to the Sports Shop 27 podcast on YouTube. Make sure you cop our merch as well. You'll get the links at the end of this podcast. We'd like to thank our guests tonight, former Clemson Hall of Fame and Indiana Pacer and lacrosse Catbirds guard, Vince Hamilton. All right. You guys make sure you wear your mask, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Okay. Peace. It's not how you start, it's how you what?
You finish.
Vince Hamilton is a great example. Last in recruiting, but it wasn't how he started, it was how he finished. Y'all be easy, be safe.
All right.
Later.
Okay, guys. Take care.